welcome back to my channel. Another day means another episode of learning. And for today's video, I'll be going to discuss two sets of discussion, meaning this video will be composed of two parts. The first part will revolve around the tips on how to effectively teach grammar solely from my learning and understanding from the subject with course code EL108 with description Teaching and Assessment of Grammar, instructed by our very own instructor, Mrs. Lala Bantila. And for the second part, it talks about 10 grammar rules with examples. Are you guys excited? Because I am very excited. So, without further ado, let's begin now! Grammar is a structural foundation of our ability to express ourselves. And the more we are aware on how it works, the more we can express our feelings and the more we can communicate. For tip number 1, which is I considered as one of the most remarkable tips that I have learned in this entire subject, is to connect and motivate students. Our instructor from this subject, Teaching and Assessment of Grammar, is very good at this because before she ends and starts her lesson, she always tries to motivate her students by giving compliments or by commending their performances in every performance task. And for me, this is very important because this will establish rapport that will strengthen the student-teacher relationship, which is, I think, a very important thing to do before sharing ideas with students. So, why does I consider this as a tip? Because when we connect with our students, we will know in some cases about of what they have already know and what they don't. And by this, teacher can properly intervene with the lesson to help her students in the learning process. Tip number 2, be systematic. Well, yeah, this one is a must because when a classroom or discussion is governed by a specific system or follows a fixed plan, information comes in efficiently. Teacher must make sure what the class have already know and what they need to learn. And if they are ready to learn new things, it must be linked with their prior knowledge. I can remember Mrs. Lala in this tip because before she leaves or starts the discussion, she already established the system that has to be followed in that entire class discussion. Tip number 3, understand the grammar before teaching it. Mastery of the field is very important. Just like with our instructor from the same subject, she knows almost everything about English language. And if her students will ask about something, she can always provide answers, in which I think is very important for us future teachers to know that when we teach grammar, we must understand what is grammar all about. Because for us to be able to direct and correct our students' errors and to provide supplements to it. Tip number 4, make learning grammar fun. Learning a grammar is a lifetime process and cannot be acquired in just one setting. And make learning grammar fun is not about making the inter-class room hours be filled of fun or laughter. It is more likely about setting the classroom atmosphere friendly and pressureless, wherein students can breathe and still be able to compose with themselves. Because for me, putting too much pressure can somehow hinder students' performances, and because students might tend to choose to stay quiet and not to participate. And by this will lessen the chances of learning grammar. Tip number 5, remember the purpose of teaching grammar. Knowing the objectives of every lesson is a great edge to start the class. And if our teacher knows the goal, and it will be easier for her to start the class discussion. And just like with our very own instructor in the same subject, teaching and assessment of grammar, Ma'am Lala, she really knows what to share in the class, and she always tries to formulate her objectives suited for the need of her students. Tip number 6, put students in the role of teacher. They said, experience is a great teacher. And learning grammar can also be best when students are enabled to experience things by themselves. I have the best example for this. Our instructor in teaching and assessment of grammar, still Mrs. Lala Bantilan, made us to do or to conduct demo teaching individually and by group. And by this, we are challenged to make our demonstration as best that we could, and by this, we have practiced well our scripts, and by that, it helped us in learning our grammar. Tip number 7, immerse students with group activities. It is nice to learn individually, but group activities or performances also contribute a lot into the learning of everyone, because there are lots of different information and ideas coming from different students for sure. I have this observation: every grading period, Ma'am Lala will group us to collaborate for a certain performances or presentation. And personally, this helped me a lot because I have gathered a lot of things, especially from my different groups coming from the preliminary period up to the final period. Tip number 8, have your students write extensively. I remember in midterm and semifinal grading, our instructor, Miss Lala Bantilan again, has been practicing our writing skill, especially in lesson plan drafting. And these have helped me a lot personally in learning grammar, especially in writing aspect, because after finalizing our plans, our instructor will check our work and will correct any errors. And from those corrections, I have learned my mistake, and the next time around, I am able to done it correctly. For tip number 9, offer lots of relevant and accurate examples. In every class discussion, giving examples helps a lot because it will help students to picture out everything we are sharing unto them. And what if we provide unrealistic or irrelevant examples to them? So it will be useless. Therefore, we must choose to impart examples that are realistic and can be seen from day-to-day basis. For tip number 10, make sentences funny and attention-grabbing. In a classroom, there are passive learners, and teachers must be able to grab their attentions too. And this is a strategy that will lit up the perspective of students to listen from the teacher or anyone who is talking in the classroom. And teacher must make discussion very interactive so that students will actively participate. Alright, so this would be all for part 1, and now let's proceed to part 2, which is the grammar rules with examples. Grammar rule number 1, the use of article and a. A and and are indefinite articles used with singular countable nouns. A is used if the next word starts with consonant or has consonant sounds. Examples: a game, a man, a table, a European, a university. And an is used if the next word starts with vowel letter or has a vowel sound. For example, an animal, an only child, an elevator, and an hour. Grammar rule number 2, mass nouns. Nouns that by their very nature are plural, and these are also called as uncountable nouns or non-count nouns. And as a general rule, words referring to liquid such as water or juice, a substance that consists of very small, fine grams of rock like sugar and sand, and substance, metal or woods, are nouns. Example: This sand is a lot more waterlogged than the previous beach. And second example, ice cream is my favorite dessert. Grammar rules number 3. Compound subject. When the subject of a sentence is composed of 2 or more nouns and pronouns connected by the words and, must use plural verbs. Example, Jessa and Bella are at the fair. Grammar rule number 4. If the word each, every, or no comes before the subject, the verb must be singular. For example, no smoking or drinking is allowed. Every man and woman is required to log in. For grammar rule number 5, singular object with plural forms must take singular verbs. For example, mathematics is a branch of science. The news from the front is bad. Measles is a dangerous disease for pregnant women. Grammar rule number 6, use the simple present tense for habitual actions. Example, I run 500 meters every day. I catch a fish every Saturday night at lake. Grammar rule number 7, use the present progressive tense for current action. This tense is for anything that is happening right now. For example, I am drinking coffee, Jessa is playing her guitar, Wella is dancing on TikTok. Grammar rule number 8, add ed to verbs for the past tense when we talk about past, and we have to add an ed to regular verbs to make past tense form. Example, she walked in front of the crowd confidently. The cats played the ball. Grammar rule number 9, use present perfect tense for the unfinished past. When people talk about things that have already happened but consider the time which they occurred to be unfinished, they use the present perfect tense with a helping verb. And helping verb for the present perfect is the perfect tense conjugation of to have. Example, I have drunk 3 types of coffee today. Jess's dog has bitten me 4 times so far. And for the final grammar rule, which is grammar rule number 10, use a present perfect progressive for unfinished action and past. When the action as well as the time is considered unfinished, the verb loads be on the present perfect from helping verb to be and to have and changes to the progressive form. Example, I have been drinking coffee all day, and Jess's dog has been barking me like crazy since it saw me. So that would be all, guys, for today's video. I hope you have learned something from me. Once again, I am Erica Mansilagan, and please do like and share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And that would be all. Thank you and goodbye.